Welcome to my new podcast entitled Inside My and why am I doing this? I'm doing this as an opportunity for me to get stuff that's inside my mind out. I don't even know what it's going to be about. A little bit of this and a little bit of that. I'm not even going to tell you who I am or much about me because right now it's irrelevant. But what's inside my mind? Oh my gosh, under pressure. Well, as I'm driving to school, um, and I've got half a tank of petrol, it's on my mind, what with the events in the world, that later today we're going to top up the car. I was talking to one of Grace's friend's dads yesterday. Oh, that's something on my mind. Hold on. I'm going to see. Excuse me. Um, and he was saying that him and his wife have now got like a little plan just to keep the car topped up. His work commute is 2 hours a day, so that's a lot of petrol. But yeah, so I'm just gonna top up instead of because it takes 2 weeks for it to go down to zero. So I'm just gonna top it up once a week, or thereabout. And then yeah, it's on my mind thinking maybe I should be proactive and organize some carpooling to and from school and see if I can make my schedule work with that. Yeah, what did Phil say? Oh, why was Phil there? So, oh my gosh, yesterday it is an absolute miracle that Grace is still alive because we were doing the garden. It was so nice to be outside and doing stuff together. I've been struggling with some loneliness, and so some days, this whole day, I get to spend with Grace, and I'm sure she'd like to be doing exciting outings. But life is allowed to be just looking after you, where you live, looking after your camp, I suppose, in Cape Town. Anyway, weather was perfect. So we spent most of our afternoon outside and we were using the hedge trimmers on the ivy on the fence, and that was all fine. And then we've got Jasmine that sort of creeps up the garage and across a beam. Anyway, so while I was doing something else, Grace was on the old hedge trimmers and the electric ones. And all of a sudden, they stopped. There was a little bit of a um, like bump bang type thing, not an explosion bang, but a bump bang, and stopped. And the hedge trimmers had got caught on something. And then I came over and they stopped. And Grace said, "Mummy, they've stopped." And I came over and I was like, "Oh, okay." And I saw like what I thought was a bit of wood sort of coming down from the beam. Yes, that's obviously what she thought. And I had never noticed that attached to the beam from the laundry room to the garage was a big fat electric cable that carries electricity from the house to the garage. Anyway, Grace, when the hedge trimmers caught that, and it is an absolute miracle that she's still alive. Absolute miracle. So I immediately called um, Kayla's mum, whose dad is an electrician, and he was at work. So, and then Rebecca said, "Oh, maybe you something with it. Maybe you must have a circuit break or something. Maybe go and check for fuse box." And some of the switches had flicked down. So I flicked them back up again, and the electricity came on. Um, and then I took a closer look. Probably should have done it while the switches were off, but I took a closer look. Oh my God, miracle! I didn't die. And the wire was well and truly cut in, like half cut all the way through. And so anyway, after we'd walked the dogs, it was just getting dark. In fact, it was dark. Phil came round, and yeah, he made it safe, and I put gaffer tape on, but he's put electrical tape on, and he's pulled the bits apart, and he's isolated, which fuse is the effect, you did fuse, so we switched that off, and it only affected a couple of plug sockets, including the fridge. So the fridge now, we had to pull it out. Lots of dog hair under the fridge. Had to pull it out and run an extension cord just around the corner to another plug socket, and then sort of come in 8 days to repair it and make it safer than it was. But my goodness, on my mind, a few years ago when we had the house renovated, and it was like nearly $6,000 to have it rewired, and I'm like, oh, this is such a lot of money, blah blah blah. Well, before we had it rewired, we didn't have one of these circuit breaker residual current detector or something. Anyway, I don't know what that switch was. That one, that is the life-saving switch, and that is worth millions of dollars. Like, there's no money. So I don't even bear thinking about, but my goodness, did I say some prayers of thank you last night? Anyway, that's on my mind. Gratitude, I think. Gratitude. And sometimes what you do in advance has a big impact on future situations. So yeah, that's on my mind.